Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC, how y'all doing? All right, I'm going to show you how simple it is to set up a nose wheel gyro using a Spectrum AR631 receiver or any Spectrum Smart receiver that it has AS3X Plus enabled. Alrighty, we're going to be doing this on the FMS 1500 milliamp Cessna Skylane. And we're going to be doing it on an IX-14, but the same procedure can be done with any of the NX or IX series transmitters that allow you to access forward programming. And your receiver must be upgraded to AS3X Plus, and you need to make sure your transmitter, whatever you're using, is upgraded. Okay, the very first step that we're going to need to do is identify and isolate the rudder servo wire or lead that plugs into the rudder steering servo. So let me change my camera views and I'm going to show you how to do that. Alrighty, here's the top of the model with the bat. I've already taken the liberty of removing the screws. Okay, I remove the plate. Now I have my AR631 hot glued there. Okay, and it's just going to stay there. What I need to do is isolate the servo that does the steering. Well, this is very obvious. Okay, there's the rudder servo and there's my lead. That plugs directly into that board. It's labeled rudder. Just go ahead and pull that out. All right, let's do something real quick just to make sure and to show that we have what we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to use a servo tester just to make sure that I've got the right one. I know I do, but just to show you. Okay, watch that tiller arm there. Okay, nothing. The model doesn't have a battery in it, so I know that I've got the right item. Okay, now I'm going to be using, I have flap channel. You must have an open channel. Now I've been using reverse thrust on this plane, and I've assigned it to my gear channel, or my gear channel. So I'm going to unplug the reverse function because I'm going to give that up. I don't need that. And instead I'm going to opt for nose wheel steering. I use that more than I do reverse thrust. So I just got to remember that gear is now going to be my reverse thrust servo. I'm going to plug that in. Remember the polarity on Spectrum radios, the wire or the signal side, which is the yellow, goes towards the label. Okay, put that reverse thrust signal wire out of the way so it's not confusing. Okay, and remount. All right, I'm back. All right, the servo lead is not long enough to me to fit in here, so I'm going to use a servo extension. Okay, same thing, light to light, dark to dark. Okay, make sure that it works. It works. So now I'm going to put my battery tray back in there. I got plenty of room. And I know now this long isolated wire operates my steering servo. All right, let me get that back down and go ahead and take the time. I'll probably go faster here and anchor down my battery tray. Highly recommend using these magnetic trays to hold your screws in. Get them at Home Depot, wherever. Or just anywhere hardware store. Walmart. All right, that's in there. Take my antenna. Got that in there now. Put my antenna, put it back up in there again. I'm going to take that servo extension, plug that back into my gear channel. Remember the same thing, the light wire, signal wire goes towards the front of the receiver, or where the label is. And tuck my wires back down. All right, now I'm going to plug my I've already got my transmitter on over here. I'll go ahead, plug in my model as I fight with the straps. Don't really need to plug it in, but I don't want the battery flopping around right now. All right, I'm gonna plug it in. Hear the model? All right, now I'm gonna show you something. All right, that right there, that's the nose. I'm moving my rudder, but it ain't moving. So I know I don't have any communication to it. All right, so now we're gonna put the model off to the side, and I'm gonna show you how to set that up. All right, what you must do, go down here to go to model setup, okay? Channel assign. Okay, now the gear channel was I because I had reverse thrust, okay? We're gonna change that, and I want that operated now by the rudder stick. So that tells me the gear is now the rudder stick, okay? Port assignments. Gear is going to remain gear. So gear, they know the gear channel is what operates. And by going to, back here at channel assign, and by going to channel input config, I'm telling the receiver how the gear is to be operated. Now normally I would have it in switch A, okay, which is like retracts, up or down, but this doesn't have retracts. So instead I'm going to use that channel. And I'm going to have it be, instead of being controlled by my A switch, which normally would be for retracts, I'm going to have it controlled by my rudder stick. Okay, so now I know that it's being controlled by the rudder stick. So all I have to do. All right, now we're going to go to back out of there. The RF comes back on. Now we're going to go to forward programming.
Holds one.
It says holds because of the fact we lost connection. Make sure your throttle cut is on. All right, let's shut that up real quick. Cancel. All right, forward programming. We're going to go to gyro settings. You can go to nose wheel gyro. Okay, now it wants to know, well, where is the nose wheel at? That's why it says inhibit. Okay, so now you got to find it. It's on gear, so hit OK. All right, so we know it's on the gear, and you're going to go to learn travel. Okay, now you're going to move it one way, and then move it the other way. Move one way, and move it the other way. Hit apply. Okay. All right. Now we don't have a retract channel because we're using it. There is no retracts. Okay. Go next. All right. Now this thing has AS3X settings, right? Okay. And it has my gains operate on this here. So I'm going to hit inhibit, and it wants to know where are the gains operated at. Well, they're operated by the aux3 knob. I just moved that, and that highlighted it. Okay, so hit OK. All right. Now you're going to want to know what kind of gains, how much does it move. But let's leave this alone for right now because I want to be able to demonstrate that to you. All righty. Now this is the screen that we're at, right? Okay, we know that the gain channel is aux3, which is that right up there, controlled how reactive the gains are. But all the values are set at 0. Well, that doesn't matter, right? Huh. But I don't hear the nose wheel gyro doing anything. That's because you've got to change the values. What you want to do is you want to tell the computer how much correction it wants. So we're going to raise this, say, to go to 50. Now let's change to 50, right? That's on the rate gain. See that nose wheel? See? So now to me, If I move it this way, see how it changes and comes back to center position? It's kind of like self-leveling for a nose wheel. But that is an awful, but I've also got my gains turned all the way up. So that 50 is the maximum amount. Now what happens if I change this to 100 and I got my gains all the way up to maximum? This should be grossly correcting, okay? So we know that's way too much. So go back here to rate gain. Let's take that actually down to say, to 30. Okay, so that 30, or 30, well, change it to 30. Click OK. 30 is now the maximum amount of gain correction with this roller turned all the way up that it will do. Okay, that's not nearly as much. Now, what I can do, if that's too much still, I can turn that, say, all the way down to nothing, and look what happens here. No correction at all, okay? So, depending on the gain channel, how far up or how far down, for me, I go all the way out. In other words, I go basically clockwise. That's maximum. That's the maximum amount of correction. And I'll turn it back towards, say, about the middle, okay? And that's just a little bit of correction. But I think I want just a touch more. So you can just keep playing with this until you get happy with it. Let's put it back at 50. Okay. Click OK. And that way, if I'm all the way up, I'm reiterating it, all the way up, that's the maximum amount. Like say I'm trying to take off on a really windy day, I can leave that up high like that. Okay. But morally, I'm going to be keep it about in the middle, maybe a little less than middle, halfway through, and that's not nearly as much correction. You say, well, yeah, but that's just the AS3X settings. No, it's not. It's not the AS3X for the rest of the plane. I haven't turned that throttle on yet. That is strictly the nose wheel gyro working. Okay? Because you say, okay, well, that's working. All right. Aileron gyros aren't working. Elevator gyros aren't working. But that rudder, but see how that rudder's not really correcting. But the nose wheel is, because that's the only thing activated right now. See, I don't feel that rudder moving at all. Now, I know the prop's on. Okay. Now we're going to bump the throttle up. Okay.
Motors armed.
All right, turn the motor back off.
Prop secured.
Prop secured. Now,
Safe mode. AS3X mode.
here, all my regular gyros are now working, and the nose wheel gyro is working independently of itself. Okay? And that is all I need to do. All right? Again, you must isolate the rudder channel, the servo lead coming off the rudder steering servo, plug it into an open channel, okay, on your transmitter. Assign that channel as the nose wheel gyro. In this case, I used the gear channel. I showed you the steps on how to do that. Ensure that whenever you activate it, before you set up that gyro, that it's turned the right way with your, so in other words, the rudder, if it turns this way, this wheel should turn towards me. In other words, I'd be making a right turn. If I want to make a left turn, then that wheel should turn that way, and that rudder should turn this way. Okay? Take a look at it. You can kind of see, look at the wheels. See? All right, this is a right turn. Okay? And there's a left turn. Right turn, left turn. Ensure that before you obligate yourself to setting the nose wheel gyro, because just like when you're setting up forward programming, if your control surfaces are going the wrong way, guess what? It's going to record as the right way. Exactly. You must make sure your control surfaces are working correctly before you obligate the gyro to lock in those settings. All right, now you can always go back later and change these settings if you want to. Change it up and down. as I showed you through that rate gain. But right there, that's all I need. I don't mean to mess with heading and all that. Some people will like to, may as well heading to lock that wheel back in a little bit faster or something, but that's fine. We're not talking about a $40,000 or a big turbine jet here. We're talking about a very light little plane. All right, so that's all you really need to do. Isolate the channel, make sure it's working the correct correction, assign, go through nose wheel gyro setup, assign tell the computer which channel you're using for your nose wheel gyro, and then it wants to know where's your rate gain channel at, and for me that's my aux 3. And then it wants you to test the gyro, learn the travels, and then set your gains, how high or low you want them, and then click OK, and that's all you have to do to get a nose wheel gyro working. But the key things you have to have, you must have an independent rudder servo that you've isolated. You must have a physical open channel on your receiver. So let's say you have a jet and all 6 channels are being used, okay? And you want to isolate the jet, but you've also got retracts. Well, there's provisions for that, but you still need that physical channel, okay? So that means you're going to have to buy a 7-channel receiver. The Spectrum does not make a 7-channel receiver, so you'd have to buy an 8-channel receiver, okay? And then use the channel. Then you'll have a free channel for, say, thrust reversing or whatever other option you want to enable on the plane. So that's just a drawback. Now, Limit RX makes 7 channels, but they don't offer a forward program with the nose wheel. So that's just a side note. All right. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments. We're going to take this plane out tomorrow morning and do a little morning sortie with it, and I'll be using that nose wheel gyro. All right. Well, thank you so much. Watch for the video, and this will be an independent video. Have any questions, please, and don't feel free to go through the video step by step and watch it, and you'll learn how to do it. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. Trust me. If that guy can do it, you can do it. All right. God bless y'all. God is good. And don't forget, faith, family, and friends, and the nose wheel gyros.